Alright guys, in today's video we have a very interesting follow-up to do here regarding a leak that we covered about 2 weeks ago at this point. I think it was either 13 or 14 days ago. And I think many of you actually know which leak I'm talking about. It was a pretty massive one, and the video I did on it did very well. A lot of people showed up to watch it, and it had a really good like to dislike ratio, and it seems that a lot of people were okay with going over a leak like that because I pretty much let you know, look, this is a really massive leak. It had all of the details, all of the game announcements, the price, the reveal date. It was the leak that said the PlayStation 5 slogan is "It's time to play." It also talked about backwards compatibility, full backwards compatibility, all this stuff. And it was really interesting to go over because a lot of us kind of understood that the chances of everything here actually being accurate are very low, but there was certainly some stuff in there that sounded believable, and that's the thing I emphasized when I went over that video. I wanted to point out that there are things here that do seem like very likely, but they're pretty specific too. They're not just like random ballpark guesses. And so what makes today's video so interesting is we have a little bit of a follow-up here where there are some individuals that come from NeoGaf, and I know some people aren't going to care about this, but it's worth paying attention to these individuals because they are vetted, they are verified. What this essentially means is that it is confirmed that these people do actually have contacts in the industry and they have sources within the industry. We don't know to what extent. However, I will say one of these individuals claims to have a contact directly at SIC, so directly from Sony. And I do have to emphasize that this is not official confirmation, so please do not take it that way. And I also want to take just a moment here to say two things. First of all, for those of you who think you're going to enjoy the video and you do appreciate the content, be sure to hit the like button. That really helps out the videos more than you guys know. And for those of you who are going to leave, the inevitable comment of "I'm tired of the leaks, stop making this content," why did you even click on the video? I'm really not trying to be rude, but it's like, do you not understand that there's thousands of people here who are interested in hearing this? If you're not interested in hearing it, you don't have to click on the video. I mean, you're only helping it out. You're only sending me a signal that I should keep making that. So I'm not going to go on a rant here about that. I just, I had to address that because it happens every single video. But there's an individual who goes by the name VFX Veteran, and they are an industry professional and they have been vetted on NeoGaf. Now, what this person did was they pulled up a screenshot of this leak, right? And specifically, they highlighted in bold lettering a certain section of this leak. And clearly what they're trying to say is that this section of the leak is true. And so I'll have it up on screen here so you can, read it for yourself. And the bullet points he highlights, these are the bullet points. PlayStation 5 price will be $500 and there will only be one model. PlayStation 5 launch games include Gran Turismo 7, MLB The Show 21, which apparently a lot of people have a problem with this because they're saying that, that makes no sense. MLB The Show is not going to launch, in a holiday of 2020. That's going to come out in March. I think what people need to understand is that by launch games, and I believe he does go on to clarify this further in this thread here, he's not saying that every single one of these games are coming day and date with the PlayStation 5, but these are pretty much the launch window games that are coming. So basically within the first 6 months, maybe even up to a year of the PlayStation 5 being out. So that's the most important thing I have to emphasize here. So after MLB Show 21, we have Demon's Souls Remastered or Remake. I mean, we have to call it a remake because that is what Bluepoint is calling it. And then we have Godfall, which we already know about. And then we have Legends, which is apparently a new IP from Sony Santa Monica. So that one sounds interesting. We don't really know what it could be, but it's coming from Santa Monica, so it'll be interesting to see what that ends up being. And then it says games teased at the PlayStation 5 reveal: Horizon Zero Dawn sequel, Marvel's Spider-Man sequel, a new sci-fi IP from Naughty Dog, a new IP from SIE Japan, a new IP from London Studio, Final Fantasy 16, and a new Resident Evil game. And then this is also the last point here that he has highlighted with bold letters: PS5 specs almost on par with Xbox Series. So That is the only section within this massive leak that they highlighted, and this is what he had to say. He said, "My sources just verified to me on the phone that everything this guy mentions is 100% true," referring to the leak, the highlighted section. And yeah, the Xbox Series is indeed more powerful than the PS5. Even the price he mentions is correct. So I would believe that the PS5 equals 9 T-flops and Xbox Series 10 T-flops. Now, to talk about this for just a moment here, if you go further into this thread, he goes on to clarify that he's not saying he knows the exact numbers of the PS5 and the Xbox Series. Like, he's basically just using ballpark estimates, saying 9 T-flops of, like, we assume to be RDNA 1 or RDNA 2. Although I've heard that the specifications or the architecture when it comes to the PlayStation 5, the APU, apparently it is a hybrid of RDNA 1 and RDNA 2, not full RDNA 1 or full RDNA 2. We're going to have to see about that. But he's just basically saying that whatever the T-flops end up being, because a lot of people go to the, oh, well, didn't Phil Spencer say if you do the math with the specs of the Xbox Series, it'll be double that of the One X, which would be 12 T-flops. That's where the 12 T-flop number came from. But a lot of people are pointing out that, that would technically be correct if you're measuring it in GCN, but if we're measuring it in RDNA 1 or 2 architecture, then at that point it's going to be like technically a lower T-flop number, but it's still much more capable. Thus, why the T-flop number is not something you want to pay too much attention to, because it is not an accurate reflection. Apologize for that rant there, but I just have to mention that he did clarify this further in the thread, that he's not saying definitively he knows the numbers. He's just saying that what this based off of everything he's heard, the PS5 and the Xbox Series are almost on par with one another. And again, another source who is verified here saying the same thing we've been hearing. So very interesting. Now, something else we do need to mention here is there is another individual, and this is where we are going to discuss Sony possibly doing a state of play for the PlayStation 5 reveal. And this person's name is Heisenberg FX4, who is apparently also another vetted member on this forum. So apparently they are confirmed to have sources. And he says in response to this, "I have said before, I like the date 2/5 to go with the 25 years of PlayStation. If we get anything on the 5th, it has to be a state of play at this point." Now, it's worth noting that if we are going to get a state of play from Sony, they are either going to announce that today or tomorrow if it's actually going to be on the 5th. And so that's kind of a funny way to look at it. Maybe to celebrate the 25th anniversary of PlayStation, they do something on 2/5. Maybe that's when they'll have the announcement of the PS5 reveal event. And it really kind of makes you think about how Sony wants to go about revealing the PS5. All of us are expecting a massive New York event just like 2013, but for all we know, Sony could be planning a special long version of State of Play where they say it's going to be between maybe an hour and a half long, and it's definitely not your normal State of Play, and the focus is going to be 100% on the PS5, and I think that could work really well if they did that. And I want to say here that something else that maybe kind of backs that up a little bit is every time they've announced the State of Play, the past, I guess, 2 or 3 State of Plays they've done, they emphasized at the end that we should not expect any PlayStation 5 info during these State of Play events, which maybe, depending on how you look at it, could be their way of saying that they plan to talk about the PlayStation 5 during a State of Play event. I will say it would catch everybody off guard if they did a State of Play event for the PlayStation 5 reveal. I think the only negative about it is a lot of people would be down on it because they feel like, oh, well, that doesn't sound like a massive event. But I think Sony could easily counter that by just simply saying, look, we, this is not a normal State of Play. This is going to be huge, and we're going to have a big PlayStation 5 blowout event. I think people would be very excited for that. That is certainly a possibility. I'm not necessarily saying for sure it's going to happen on the 5th. Again, if it is going to happen on the 5th, it's going to be announced at some point today or tomorrow. But it still seems likely to me that this is how Sony could go about revealing the PlayStation 5. So we're going to have to see about that. Now, the final thing he says here is some side notes. What you have verified is a lot of what my buddy at SIE, at Sony, believes as well, including the power numbers. I should be able to find out about the show being a launch game, though. I sent him a text on that. The game is always launched with real baseball season, so it would be very early launch for that. So, yeah, this is... I do need to emphasize that these individuals went on later in this... specifically the first individual we talked about here, VFX veteran, they went on to say that they're not saying that everything they're claiming is 100% the truth. What they're trying to say is that they do have contacts. Now, we just don't know, how high up these contacts are. I mean, we have this Heisenberg person here saying that they straight up talked to somebody from SIE. That's about as high up as it can get. And so they just are trying to, I guess, cover themselves by saying, look, they're not claiming that everything here they're saying is 100% the truth. They're just saying that based off of their sources that they're talking to, which, could end up being wrong when it's all said and done, they're just simply saying that this is what their sources are telling them, and it seems to be pretty detailed information, or pretty detailed confirmation, I guess we could say in this case. And so I had to take some time to present this information to you guys, because when it comes to these leaks, they're happening so frequently and from so many different directions, you really don't know what to believe and what not to. But it is worth taking time here to point out that some verified forum users, which, yes, I know, we can't sit here and look at verified forum users and claim that they are the be-all, end-all, because they're not, but they do have something behind them. That's the point. They do have something behind them, a little bit of credibility, at least enough to get themselves verified. They're out here saying that, look, based off the sources they're discussing with and talking to, some of this leak, at least a good portion of it, in regards to the games anyway, it's 100% accurate. And so to me, it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. Now, final thing I want to mention here, when it comes to the state of play, just because I haven't talked about it too much, I can't say whether or not I definitively believe that they're going to do a state of play. We don't know. I think Sony could go either way. I will say this, and this is the final thing I'm going to say. Even though it seems like to some people it's really unlikely that Sony would do a state of play event for the PlayStation 5 reveal, you have to understand that Sony is taking a very different approach to the way they're doing things. In fact, they have been taking a very different approach for the past year and a half. So honestly, I would not be surprised at all if this is in fact how Sony wants to do it. If you think about it, it would fall in line with them and their secrecy, how quiet they've been. If they do a state of play event, there's no need to invite press to an event, right? Weeks ahead of time, they could just let them know the same time they let everybody else know, about a week in advance or a couple days in advance maybe. Maybe some people would think that that's too low-key, but I think it all depends on how Sony would handle it, if that is in fact how they want to go about it. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you found it somewhat informative, or at the very least, I hope you found it interesting. So be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I will be interested to see what you guys have to say. Leave the video a like. Again, if you did enjoy it, subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.